Nighttime Seed. The streets are me.
PhD Flopper has been a fan favorite since its introduction in Black Ops, but as of recent years, it's become more and more of a pipe dream than anything else, even as of recently with the reintroduction of maps that featured the classic in their original formats. Though Black Ops 3 may not be the most viable option for the perk, with the exclusion of dolphin diving, nostalgia still has a grip on fans and players alike. So amidst the perhaps agonizing memories for those that wish for the return, let's take a look at the story that is PhD Flopper. While there has not been much public discussion on the conceptual design of PhD Flopper or any sort of interviews that detail the creative process of first designing the perk, there is a little bit of a paper trail that details the earliest days of, or what may be the earliest days of, what would later be known as PhD Flopper in Black Ops. Black Ops was, according to public record, the Call of Duty with the most cut content for the Zombies game mode. Realistically, this makes sense as Nazi zombies in World at War was more of an accidental success than anything else, as the mode has publicly been described as being something that was more of just a side project that took storm, and they kind of rode with it than anything else. So while developing the game in the time between the launch of their last content pack in mid-2009 for World at War until the release of Black Ops in late 2010, Treyarch had played around with many ideas to experiment in what would follow up and continue the success of Zombies. One of those ideas that made it past the whiteboard but never actually made it past the early strings of development was a perk called Tough Brew. While only minute traces of the perk are available in the paper trail of coding that is Black Ops, there are a few pieces that really point to this being the earliest forms of what would later be universally known as PhD Flopper. Having one solo audio cue directly connected to the perk, that being from Dempsey screaming the name of Tough Brew followed by his iconic, "That's what I'm talking about." The perk seems to be pretty standard, but it's not until we examine a little bit further into the other staples of the perk that we see a clear path towards what may have been PhD Flopper. Initially set to be released in Ascension, which, curiously enough, is the same introductory map for PhD Flopper, the perk was also described by Nikolai in audio files that goes on to describe it as going down like glue, very similar to the description to follow later of PhD. Additionally, Richtofen in quotes mentions that it will toughen him up, something that adds additional air quote toughness on top of the already existing Juggernaut perk, thus implying something that deals with other damage dealt, such as maybe splash damage or self-inflicted damage like fall damage. So while Tough Brew may not have made the cut, it's possible the perk was expanded upon to fully become that of what PhD has been so famously known for. But fast forward to February 1st, 2011 with the release of the First Strike DLC on Xbox 360. Ascension has just been introduced to the world, and with it, one of the most iconic perks in one of the most iconic training locations in all of Zombies. PhD would cost the player 2,000 points and was a selling point of the dolphin diving mechanic, which was brand new to the franchise with Black Ops. Allowing players to be unaffected by splash damage and other self-inflicting damage were the backdrop for what players loved. The iconic dolphin dive explosion sold the perk immediately, having a maximum damage of 5,000 at the center of the blast, and it would kill zombies in one hit up until round 20. It took off almost immediately. Additionally, it took off to make other appearances in Call of the Dead, Shangri-La, as well as Moon to cap off the Black Ops content season. Going into the development of Black Ops 2, players were eager to find out if the fan favorite would be returning, in which they were disappointed by the lack of inclusion in the release map of Transit. Come the reveal period of DLC 1 within Black Ops 2, discussion once again stirred as the potential to use the dolphin dive mechanic in Black Ops 2 to absolutely decimate zombies was on everyone's mind. The release of Die Rise was a particularly rude release for players and fans of the perk alike, as the perk machine was in Die Rise, but it was not accessible to the player. The machine was an Easter egg in the elevator shafts outside of the spawn room in which it could be seen while falling, but never attained. So a cruel shot to the fans there at that one, but it was technically an appearance that PhD made. As the months passed, however, better news came for PhD fans as it was included within Mob of the Dead, and thus marking the first time it was playable within Black Ops 2 and for the first time in 2 years' time total. But the only downside, it was only available in Grief. But surely a good sign, it seemed like we'd be seeing the return for Buried in the third content pack, but while it was there in some capacity, PhD went adventurous once again and was not physically attainable as a perk machine would suggest or even a perk bottle would suggest. Instead, it was one of the dubbed perma-perks that you could get in Buried, attainable after taking multiple falls of significant damage, creating a lasting ability to take no fall damage and also do damage to zombies. So it was something that did not take up any perk slot, but still was not something that you could have physically in your inventory. By the time that Origins came around, well, fans were on the fence on whether or not to expect it or not. to which they got it, but once again, not via physical machine, but instead from the new creation, the Der Wonderfizz machine, which allowed players to get a random perk out of the machine for a lessened cost, but all at complete random. Perhaps the real disconnect and the downfall of PhD Flopper came, however, with the introduction of sliding into Black Ops 3. At a developmental standpoint, the slide mechanic was deemed to be more tactical, more fluent, and more appropriate than that of the Dolphin Dive in Black Ops 3, and upon learning that the Dolphin Dive would not be included within Black Ops 3, fans immediately questioned the ideology that we would be seeing PhD at all in the most recent Treyarch title. Sadly, as time passed, we had not and still have not seen PhD Flopper return. Even with the reintroduction of the classic maps from Black Ops 1, that being Ascension, Shangri-La, and Moon, they still have not had the introduction of PhD Flopper, and though it's something that a lot of people would see, from a developmental standpoint, they just have not been there and don't really fit the mechanics that Black Ops 3 exerts. In its place, instead, is Widow's Wine, a perk that was introduced within Black Ops 3 that perhaps may have been designated to take the place of PhD Flopper, but on that sense and that level, we may never know, but instead it is in all the places that PhD would be within the classic maps and has offered up another unique characteristic for its perk and its usability within Black Ops 3. As for the future, well, that is of course an unknown. Whether or not PhD will ever return, of course fans alike will definitely want to see it come to the theoretical Black Ops 4, though probably not going to be the title of the next Treyarch game. Of course, we can always hope for it, but unless there is something of a return for the Dolphin Dive, PhD may be lost to history, and thus marking the last time that we've seen it being Origins within Black Ops 2. So while PhD may have had a shorter-lived history than that of what many people had hoped for, it has still solidified its way into the hearts of many in the Call of Duty franchise as a perk that can live on with great dignity. But all that said and out of the way, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. I just wanted to bring you guys something a little bit different. I've seen a lot of talk of PhD recently in the comments and on different various forms of social media, that being Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to just bring something to maybe not hype anybody up for a theoretical release of PhD at a later point in time in a different game or anything like that, but rather to take a look back and appreciate PhD for what it was, and give maybe a little bit of an in-depth and comprehensive history of the perk for maybe people that have not been around as long to experience it firsthand. So that said and out of the way, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Drop your thoughts down there in the comment section down below on if you guys enjoyed this type of video. I can do more stuff like this if you guys want to. I just wanted to do something a little bit different here with it and give you guys a little bit of a perspective on where it came from, the history of PhD, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. So that said, if you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything we have here regarding Zombies Chronicles, zombies in general, Black Ops 3 multiplayer, Modern Warfare Remastered, Call of Duty World War II, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that is the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. I practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But with that said, hopefully you guys are having a great day. Mine has been Cool Espresso. Thanks for watching, take care, and peace.